the last segment of this news review part of the breakfast show this morning. We are looking at the editorial, the opinion by the editor on page 14 of the Daily Nation. Now, there's discord at IEBC, and it's bad for the coming poll. The credibility of an election is determined not just by the way people vote and the results are tallied and announced, but also by the process and the level of preparation. This is the reason we are concerned about the ongoings of the Electoral Commission, where we keep receiving reports about disagreements between the Secretariat and the commissioners.
That's very worrying.
This is just 70 days before a big election, yes, with a lot of interest internationally and more so locally. Your take on this?
It creates a lot of uncertainty when we hear, of course, because we are not part of the commission, so we don't know really. For me, I don't really know what happens, but when I read such reports, what I read yesterday, what I had read on Saturday, it, as a candidate, I mean as an aspirant, it makes me very uncertain. Yes, and it's something that is really worrying. So we don't know whether we are using the act properly, we are implementing what is supposed to be implemented in the right way, but at the end of the day, we need fairness, we expect fairness, we expect impartiality, and of course we expect fair results.
Is that expecting too much with such a situation in our hands?
Well, I would want to say it is totally rather unfortunate, and I want to agree with Honorable Gathoni that it's a worry that at this point, and it's only 2 months, and we're seeing a disagreement, and this is not the first one. I think there's also disagreement on returning officers. And normally what happens is that when you see this, there's usually some political hand playing, somewhere, and that creates some kind of rift, and you'll find that the Secretariat then differs with the commissioners. I don't know where the political hand at this juncture is. I don't know whether it is at the commission or at the Secretariat. But then the argument that will always come to play is that they will say that there will be an argument that the commission should be focused on policy and let the Secretariat implement, sort of like the county government and the national government issue. But I think whatever the circumstance, Kenyans should not be treated to such theatrics at this time, because we must have confidence in the IEBC going forward, and this is really not the time that they should be pulling and pushing each other. It should be a time that they should be ensuring that we gain confidence in them and as an institution. But when we see this kind of push and pull, it's no longer 2 months. Really.
And as far as Kenyans are concerned, the Secretariat and the Commission are IEBC.
IEBC.
No one.
So it's very worrisome, and I think we need to get to the bottom of it to see what Kenya. Nothing happens like this for no reason.
Jonathan,
there's some politics under.
Are this the results of an inexplicit law?
Yeah, I think now you see why Millie and her team sometimes carry firimbis into Parliament. When the Election Act was being amended the other day, where the Jubilee government wanted to make sure that there's provision for manual backup, while the previous law said we are now digital. Why do you want to go manual? I think what the government or whoever sponsored that amendment should have been looking at is, do we have in that Elections Act explicit roles between the Secretariat and the Commission? Because that way, if everybody knows their lane and what they're supposed to do, you find they're not stepping on each other. Here, this discord, you'll see, Charles, is caused by 3 things. One, there's the printing of ballot papers, where some commissioners are saying no, award it to the team that the court refused. Some of the people in the Secretariat are saying no, we have to go back and give direct tender to somebody else to print it. This is affecting our timelines. We need ballot papers ready by the 8th of August. The second thing was the reshuffle of the returning officers. The Secretariat went and reshuffled the the returning officers. It's an administrative thing they should have done. Yeah, but the commissioner said, how did you do it without telling us? We should have known, we should have made that decision. That's a clear indication that there is not definitive on what the commissioner is supposed to do and what the Secretariat is going to do. The last thing is when the commissioners went and sent home on compulsory leave the IT director and appointed another one. And the Secretariat said, wait a minute, that is an administrative issue. We are the ones who should have done that. So that push and pull, like Honorable Millie is saying, some of us who are election stakeholders can begin to smell a rat, which is very dangerous, because 2 months to the election you should be having full confidence in that electoral commission. So I think the Elections Act needs to be looked at properly to see if those roles are defined clearly between the commissioners and the secretary.
Jogu Barua, is politics circumventing the law?
I would like to start by saying that between now and August, the institution that's on the spot is IEBC. IEBC, if they operate professionally and ethically, this country have a good future. So that both the commissioners and the secretariat should know that they owe us Kenyans a major responsibility. I mean, they should be very responsible. What my take is this: the commissioners should operate in a very competent manner. The same case should apply to the secretariat. So both organs of IEBC must portray the highest level of competence possible and neutrality, objectivity, because whatever decision they make for this country is going to determine our future. Either you're in NASA or Jubilee, that's going to be relevant.
And while at that, maybe you give your final comment.
Yeah, I'm just going there. The other thing is that this commission is a negotiated commission between the then CORD and the Jubilee. During that is the group of 7 that met to discuss that. This commission found the secretariat there. The secretariat was not tampered with. So it was not actually audited as it was proposed by a few people. So that sense of autonomy is coming because some commissioners may be feeling more aligned to NASA and others more aligned to Jubilee. Those commissioners must walk the talk and bridge the gap and work as a team, period. The other thing I would like to say is that as I make my closing remark, is that I happened to work for 2 years in a refugee camp, both in northern Kenya and southern Sudan, and I was serving the people who had fled war from 7 countries, and I saw the problem of insecurity, and this thing is brought by political differences. What I would like to say is that nobody is bigger than a constituency, a county, or this nation. We should be able to go as a nation, have a transparent election, so where every vote counts, and peace will be there from now and the future.
Thank you.
If you don't do that, you continue trying to do monkey tricks, monkey business, there will be a problem. So let the best team win. Although I'm sure Jubilee is going to win, but I'm saying let the best team win. That is why, as a person, refused to run for my constituency, because I thought my running would divide my people much more. So I want to call upon the IEBC, please IEBC, wake up and walk the talk.
Thank you.
Don't do something different.
Thank you very much.
I think I want to, very rare moments when I agree with him, except of course where he thinks Jubilee is going to win. But I agree with him that IEBC needs to conduct very transparent and just process, and we need to have confidence. So please, can they make sure they do that? And I want to urge Kenyans that let us be peaceful as we go for the elections. And the very last one, I want to urge this government to be mindful of Kenyans, and especially the women of this country. The other day I saw that they have now started, they are coming up with a policy on menstrual cycle, all headed by men. What do men know about women's menstrual cycle? This government, sorry. I think you know more. This government needs to be serious. Men know more. They cannot control. You don't know how, even what you call dysmenorrhea. You don't know how painful cycles are. You don't know how that we have different. Please, let women deal with their issues.
Thank you.
Let women deal with their issues. This government, now they have taken Unga. They are even taking our menses.
Thank you.
So my closing remarks. First of all, I would want to request that our leaders, that is leaders from the Jubilee arm, the leaders from the NASA arm, should remember that we need Kenya intact after 2017 elections. We need Kenya intact. We need to live harmoniously. They are the people we expect to be the catalyst of cohesiveness and harmonious living. So whatever they say on the platform, campaign platforms, we expect them to be the pillars of reconciliation, the pillars of harmonious living. Two, I want to applaud Jubilee government for, especially our Jubilee party, for giving women an opportunity to play leadership roles. I am not agreeing with my sister Millie when she says that UNGA issues are women issues. They are no longer women issues. They are family issues that I think our government has taken the bull at the horns, and I thank God that there's some light, at the end of the tunnel.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I echo my colleagues. The whistle has been blown. Campaign period has officially started. So Charles, you'll not see me in suits anymore. Now we're going to be out with the people, accounting for what we've done in the last 4 years. So I just urge all the politicians out there, if you're looking for a seat, do it safely. Give your issues, no hate speech, no incitement. Look out for us. Our Nairobi NASA campaign team is called Team Kazi because we work for you, and we'll be going around telling people why it's important to support Team Kazi.
The good thing about all voters, the 21 million thereabout of them, is that they have at least one of the basic senses. You can either smell, you can see, you can hear, you can taste, or anything. Other than depending on what is going to be spewed during the campaigns, the under the belt hits, the lies, the truth, and everything. You are able to see, you're able to hear, you're able to smell, you're able to taste, you're able to think. It's a decision that only you can make. The question is, what my panelists have asked, is the IEBC ready to let Kenyans exercise their democratic right? The challenge is on them. As always, the challenge is on you, the voter out there. Yesterday it was Raila Odinga and others presenting their papers. Did you plant any tree to commemorate that? Today it's Uhuru Kenyatta. This is my pet subject. Plant a tree if you love Uhuru Kenyatta to commemorate the day he was cleared by IEBC. Talking of IEBC, Stephen Leto, our very own senior reporter, is waiting at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where, Sam Gituk, where I'm told, is at the KICC, ready to tell you more about the clearance of candidates today. And the first one in the line this morning will be Justus Juma. Always a pleasure having you, my panelists. Jogu Barua, Millie Odhiambo, Gadono Mushomba, and Jonathan Mweke. My name is Charles Odhiambo. Before I leave you, Sam Gituku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Charles.
Tell us what's happening at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
Right, Charles, this is the second day and the last for the presidential nominations, and what we're experiencing currently is that everyone is ready, waiting for the arrival of Justus Juma, who is the presidential candidate or other aspirant for the Justice and Freedom Political Party. And today is a very tight day because already it's 3 minutes to 9 o'clock, and there are 7 aspirants who are lined up to come and appear before the IEBC commissioners. Of course, bearing in mind that yesterday Joe Nyaga did not make it. He had some issues that were not cleared, and so he was sent back to go and review that. So we'll be trying to see how soon Justus can arrive here, but also to highlight the other candidates who are supposed to be appearing before IEBC includes a gentleman by the name Michael Wainaina, another one called Erastus Nyamera, who should appear before the IEBC commissioners shortly after Justus Juma. He is vying as an independent candidate, and then after Michael Wainaina there will be Kwa Jirongo, where we have known him as Cyrus Jirongo, but the name that has been indicated in the program for IEBC is Kwa Jirongo. He's representing United Democratic Party. And then after that there will be Uhuru Kenyatta, of course the president, running on a Jubilee Party ticket. And then after that we should be expecting to have a gentleman by the name Japhet Kaluyu, who is also an independent. He says that he's from the diaspora. He has spent some time in the US, and so he's also looking to contest for the presidency, so that he will be appearing shortly after Uhuru Kenyatta to see if he'll be considered for that. And also we're expecting Joe Nyaga to come back any minute, because yesterday he was told that even as he goes to put his record straight to ensure that he is able to deposit 200,000 shillings instead of what he had deposited as 250,000 shillings, he also that he needs to go and correct some of the things so that that can be taken into consideration and see whether he will be cleared. So what we're waiting here is for the arrival of Justice Juma. We have an indication from the ABC commissioners that he is almost here, but unfortunately it's raining outside, so it could be a challenge for some of the people to make their entry here, but we'll be expecting to see how soon he can arrive. But Charles, the indication, what you have seen in the hall, the Shimba Hills Hall, where the IEBC commissioners are getting to process the various aspirants who appear before them, it's just the commissioners are just waiting. They are in their holding room waiting for the arrival of that candidate, because as per the scheduled time, he was supposed to be here by 8 o'clock. We do not understand why he is late, but of course he will be getting that opportunity to come and interact with the commissioners, present his papers and see if he can be cleared to contest for the presidencies. And so what we have to do, there's a car making entry here. We don't know whether he is aboard that car, but we wait and see. If that's not the case, then we might have to hand it back to you so that we continue waiting for who arrives. Let's see who arrives from that car. Charles, of course, this has been the story since yesterday. And yes, Charles, this is Justice Juma, the presidential aspirant for Justice and Freedom Party, of course, accompanied by some few persons, 2 ladies and 1 gentleman. Well, 3 ladies and 1 gentleman, of course, making their entry here. He is going to use the wrong gate. He is supposed to be using this other gate because he's a presidential candidate, and so they'll be ushered towards where we are standing, and here he is. So what we have to do, Charles, is that we have to walk with him up the stairs so that we can take him through the process, so that we do not keep the IEBC commissioners waiting for so long as we wait to hear from him. And there he is, Justice Juma, Justice Zacchaeus Juma, contesting for the presidency as an independent candidate, of course. Sorry, for Justice and Freedom Political Party. Right, and how is your morning?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, here is a blessed morning.
Sorry for the rain, but...
rain. Yes.
Does that signify anything?
Well, it's a blessed nation.
Right.
Yes.
So proceed on. I think you have to be handled. You have to be processed here by the IEBC officials. And so, yes, Charles, that is Justice Juma making his entry into the IEBC hall, where he will be being processed to see if he should be cleared to be a presidential candidate. There he goes to indicate his name as Justice Juma, and his political party is JFP, that is Justice and Freedom Party. He also has to fill in the details of his contacts, his email address, and also a signature, after which now he'll have to proceed on to the VIP room, where he will be held for a few minutes before his documentation can be reviewed. Right, so he proceeds to the VIP room. There you go. So this has been the tradition since yesterday, Charles, as all the presidential aspirants have been taken through the same process, having to register with the IEBC, and then after that they are taken in here for holding for a few minutes so that they can be given an opportunity to have their documentation reviewed before they can appear before the commissioners. And I think one of the reasons for that to happen is so that IEBC can furnish themselves with all the details that are contained in the documentation. So shortly we'll try to have a chat with them as soon as they are able to settle down, so that we can get a hint on how their ticket is. I'm sure you can see that's a lady that we all know. She's in the media fraternity, so we'll be expecting to hear her role in this entire campaign for Justice and Freedom Party. And right, Charles, so those are the live pictures from the VIP room here at the KICC as they wait to have the documentation processed. And Charles, this is an important step, bearing in mind what happened yesterday. We had 2 presidential aspirants taken back, or rather told to go and put their documentation in order so that they can come back and be considered. And so it's an important process so that they can be briefed by the IEBC officials here and also ensure that everything is in order so that they don't have hiccups. They don't have hiccups while appearing before the commissioners. And so they have just been briefed that shortly after the commissioners are ready for them, then they'll be ushered into the hall to have their moment of consideration. So let's try and have a chat with him, because this is the very first time that he is running as a presidential candidate. Of course, we have previously hosted him on Citizen TV, but this is the first time that we get to talk to you, and congratulations for making it up to this point, Justice Juma. And first of all, I would ask you the same question that I've asked every presidential aspirant, and what is your feeling this particular moment for making it to this particular time, or rather this stage, that not so many have made it?
Well, to me, it's a hope, and it's a hope to the citizen. That's the main representation that we are carrying. We are telling Kenyans that it is possible, and if you believe in a just cause for a better future, it is very possible. All you need to do is take initiative and take actions which is suitable with the objective you're pursuing, and is achievable. Right. It's very possible.
So you are, I believe, the 5th aspirant to appear before the IEBC. Yesterday, 4 of them appeared. Right. 1 was not cleared. 1 had hiccups. He went back and he came back and was cleared. Right. Is your documentation in order? Do you believe you'll be cleared in this first attempt?
Well, it's us to comply by the regulations provided. Sometimes you cannot be ready enough, and your preparedness is determined by the commission. You do all that you need and avail whatever they require of you, and seek for further direction as far as you're concerned.
You are vying as a presidential aspirant now later to be a candidate, if you're confirmed, on Justice and Freedom Party. This is not a very known political party compared to what we have, the 2 main formations, that is Jubilee and National Super Alliance. How exactly do you intend to popularize your party and your candidature to at least get the 50% plus 1 votes in this country?
They say in my language that the water that runs deeper runs deepest. So sometimes some of these procedures, you carry them out in the deepest underground, and the provision for registering a political party as provided by law is such that you must have a presence in not less than 24 counties. So generally, in our deepest, yes, we are known. We filled in various candidates for various positions, and we are supporting them, and we are believing that they are going to make the best of it. We see some of them are going in, and we are going to do all that it takes, if possible, for all of them to go in. Yes,
but specifically for your presidential campaign, it will not be an easy ride, and I'm sure you know that, because of the entire NASA Brigade, Jubilee Party, and the other 7 contenders that you'll be facing. Yeah. How exactly do you intend to make sure that you win?
Well, I appreciate, you see, our quest for freedom right from our name. Freedom has been something spontaneous. We had freedom for pre-colonial freedom from colonization, and our great-grandfathers fought very hardly, and they jubilated. We had, again, a phase of quest for freedom, where people fought for monopartism and dictatorship. And you saw how Kenyans were so happy. We've had in Kenya, again, another freedom for constitutional reform, which actually we give it to individuals who achieved them. I give honor where it is due. But as I said, freedom is spontaneous. And being a society that is not static, we are dynamic. And in the global society, there are various needs that do surface, and various freedom quests that do manifest. And in our generation and our age, you can tell that, yes, I'm not very old as the other aspirants are. And even in their representational outfits, you can see my running mate, Madam Miriam. She's a female which is hardly seen across the board. Very poor women representation. The youth representation is also lacking. And that lack of sensitivity is what is creating a gap between us and the other generation, however much they fought for the previous freedom and the achievement they've achieved. Still we have a country where we still have to compete and be equal in the face of humanity, if possible be fast. And for us to do this, we must be governed and be led by individuals who understand the current generation and also feel the need and the freedom quest of the hour, which so far I've found a lot of insensitivity across the other competitors. And this is what is making us come out to Kenyans. And to us, we are people-centered. We're bringing up a leadership they never thought existed. We would want to restore value systems and bring out leadership that bring out the role models for Kenyans. It doesn't have to be a bad boy or a bad girl, as it is for now. And it can remain so if the good people do nothing. So we, from our quest and from our circles, we've interacted with several good people whom we thought seriously, why should we lock them out?
Just as that's a very good philosophy, but let me ask you a question. Are you in this to win?
Well, my friend, you count the cost, number one, before you begin your journey, isn't it? As we're talking right now, yes, the majority of voters in Kenya are around, between age 35 and below, around 65% of voters. So these 65%, I mean 68% of voters. These 68% of voters are our age group, who feel us, who understand the objectives that we are standing for, actually who we are bearing common goal together. All we are doing as we're talking right now is telling them that, you know, it's possible. If they thought there was no alternative, now we have an alternative. All we need to do is come together the way we have come out, and let's own our future together. Because all these individuals have been crying for, kila mtu amechoka. I'm 35 now. I'm 34. I'm turning 35 in June 26th. But if you calculate from 1882 to 1982 to today, you can say 35. But I'm here to turn 35. Yes, sir.
All the best, Justice. Let's talk to your running mate. I think this is the first lady who has contested for the presidency or running mate. You've not seen any other lady candidate, if that is correct. First of all, introduce us to who you are.
Yes. Okay, my name is Mary Wamboi Morioki. I'm a mother of 2 children. I'm an educator, and I've been working with the Justice and Freedom Party since the inception.
When was it started?
It was actually registered in this year, Feb March, but we've been working on it for the last 1 year.
Okay. Yeah. So how exactly, your ticket, how do you exactly intend to ensure that you win? How do you plan to do your campaigns across the country?
Okay, we plan to basically reach out to the individual, to the citizens, and to give our message in the different places, that we are just out to make a difference, to the citizens, and we understand the needs of everyone. We are all just wananchi wa kawaida, and we understand, we've gone through what everybody's going through, and we want just to relate with that and let people know what we're planning to do for them.
Okay. Yeah. Wamboi, I don't know whether you watched TV yesterday and you saw the optics of politics with the National Super Alliance. You just came in one car with your candidate. Yeah. Is this a bother to you and your campaign?
No, we are not pretending that we are, out there. We're just wananchi wa kawaida who have come together, formed a party. We don't have big cars. Yesterday I wasn't even watching TV. I was at church the whole day. Oh. So we are just your average Kenyan. We don't have those big cars, we don't have the entourage, and so we're just coming to tell people it's possible. Okay. And someone like you and me can be able to come and make a difference, can try and make a difference.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Wamboi. I think I'll have to allow you to pick your phone because I think there's some fans who have seen Wamboi on TV, Charles, so we allow her to pick up phone. But as you have heard from Justice please don't fall. As you have heard from Justus and Wamboi here, they are saying that they are in this to offer an alternative to Kenyans so that they don't just look at the bad boys, he says. He's calling them the bad boys. Of course, we'll be expecting to hear from him as he appears before the committee of IEBC, the commissioners, as they get to process his documentation and also make sure that everything is in order before they can clear him. So let me just take you through where the commissioners will be sitting on the other side to see whether there's any activity happening there, because now as soon as Justus is cleared from here, he'll have to head to the IEBC room where the commissioners will be waiting for him to process exactly that, the documentation that he brings. So let's just see if there's any activity happening and see if we can have something. Yes, and yes, there is something happening here. You can see here the agents of the presidential aspirant have brought the documentation of Justus Juma and Wamboi, the running mate, for processing. So this is the process that we've been talking about, that IEBC officials are having to go through before they can invite the candidate to come and be processed. And so exactly the signatures, the list of signatures are here, those many booklets. That is what carries the signatures from 24 counties, a minimum of 2,000 from every county, so a total of 40,000. And this is what has been used to verify whether they have the endorsement of 40,000 registered voters. And once that is clear, then there are other documentations that have to be reviewed. For instance, academic documentation, the other testimonials, also to do with the important details of telling what kind of person this is. They have to have been cleared by the Higher Education Loans Board. That is the certification that gives the compliance, the candidate is compliant, or if they did not take a loan, then they are given a clearance certificate. And of course, this is what goes through. I am told that there could be an issue with his documentation in terms of getting the requisite signatures and authentication. So we'll wait, but that we have to wait and hear from the commissioners themselves, because we cannot make that determination. But if and when that happens, then we'll be sure to feed you back so that we can continue the process of monitoring the situation of the other candidates. But if my cameraman can turn to the other side, there's not much activity. Of course, the seats are empty. The party officials are yet to arrive, or maybe they're the ones that are accompanying Justus Juma, just a few of them, and then that's where the commissioners will be sitting shortly as soon as the IBC officials here, the clerks, are satisfied with what they've seen. And so, Charles, I think we have to hand it back to you so that you can proceed on with some other snippets from studio as we wait to see how this process pans out. But as soon as Justus is on the move to come to the IEBC room, then we'll be sure to join you back so that we can feed you what is happening on location, Charles.